lol. Anyways. First off, I want to say thank you so much for the response to the OK Lou video. I had a lot of fun with that one, and I think I made some good points in it, so I'm glad it got a decent amount of attention. Unfortunately, the pressure of my breakout success just became too much for me, and I had to go into hiding so I could return to a normal life, which is code for school and work got insane, and I didn't have any time to make a video. In my hibernation time, I didn't really do much creatively besides start playing Minecraft again, but outside of that, I used the majority of my free time to scroll through Twitter, as is the norm for me. Unfortunately. And what I noticed in that time that I want to bring up in today's video is that people are getting really fucking mean. Like, I guess this has been a thing for a while now, but I've noticed it especially recently that some people on Twitter are just like addicted to giving off bad vibes. Maybe I'm showing my status as a Stan Twitter elder, meaning I joined before the pandemic and I can legally drink in the United States. But centering your entire personality around being unironically rude to strangers online is just like not a good look. Since I reside on the music Twitter subsect of Stan Twitter, most of the vitriol I've encountered has come in the form of debates over music taste. Which, again, these have always existed in some form, but some of y'all clearly do not have the interpersonal skills to deal with a differing opinion or two on the internet. Like, trust me, I think willingly listening to Gracie Abrams music should be a Class A felony too. But I'm not gonna go and like pull up a portfolio of every single selfie that person has ever posted on the internet and tell them why they're the ugliest person alive because of it. Let people enjoy their bad music in peace. And what gets me the most about this is that at the end of the day, the music in question isn't even that bad. Twiglets or Bjork fans will post clips of something and be like, how is this even listenable? It's literal garbage. And it's like the most generic pop song you've ever heard, with soft acoustic production. And a Taylor Swift feature. It's Us by Gracie Abrams. To me, if you're gonna do all that over some bad music, you really have to have heard some bad music. Like the subject of today's video. I'm talking about an album so bad that upon release, fans literally thought it was a joke. An album so bad that it got wiped from streaming services not even a year after its release. An album so bad you might have absolutely no idea what it is, even if you're a fan of the artist who made it. But at the same time, this album is easily one of the most interesting what the fuck moments I've ever seen from an artist I love. So let's discuss. Kinda. GFOTV is, believe it or not, the technical debut album by British icon and former PC Music signee Polly Louisa Salmon, aka GFOTY, aka Girlfriend of the Year. And if you're a fan of GFOTY who knows the lore of this album, you're probably gonna tell me I'm talking out of my ass, but no, it's true, it's her debut album. GFOTY Bucks was a compilation, and this was her first project to be at least 10 tracks. Don't look at the runtime. Basically, if my last video was about how to make a perfect debut album, this one is gonna be the exact opposite. If you're an artist releasing your debut album, don't do it like this. Unless you're GFOTY. But before we get into the meat and potatoes of GFOTV, we need to look at some history prior to its release to understand how we got here. GFOTY's departure from PC Music is an interesting story that I've been wanting to cover on here for a while now, and it definitely ties into today's main topic, so here's a very brief rundown. A.G. Cook. It all begins and ends with A.G. Cook. Used to be the primary producer for GFOTY's music, same with a good majority of other PC Music signees. However, around the time that he became Charlie XCX's creative director, Polly started to feel like he was abandoning anyone that wasn't Charlie and made some comments, including this iconic tweet, about how the label, AG, had seemingly forgotten about her in pursuit of mainstream stardom. And, well, she was right. But because of this, and another falling out with the label years earlier that produced this iconic tweet, it was pretty clear that GFOTY was not about to be signed much longer. And sure enough, by the end of 2018, she announced that she had left PC Music to become an independent artist. Her Tinashe era had officially begun. So the big question was who was gonna fill the A.G. Cook-sized void in GFOTY's new music? It's undeniable that the two made a great pair. She brought the zany concepts and song ideas, and he matched her energy with some of his all-time best production on songs like Poison and Don't Wanna Let's Do It and Lemsip. Since A.G. had allegedly left everybody else in the dust for Charlie. Allegedly. Who was gonna be GFOTY's new producer? The answer here came in the form of Tom Parker, aka Count Baldur, who you might recognize from his work with artists such as... Oh god, oh no. Luckily, this was not an indicator for the immediate future of GFOTY's career, because her first post-PC release, titled Boy Next Door, was everything you could ever want from a GFOTY song. It was just as catchy, weird, and conceptual as anything off of Bucks, just with a different guy manning the saw synths. She followed up Boy Next Door with an EP that has to have one of the best project titles I've ever heard. If you think I'm a bitch, you should see GFOTY. Power bitch moves right there. This EP was great. Superglue is a banger with a fantastic intro, Cool has the off-the-wall wackiness of her best work, and See at Night is what gave us this set of lyrics that I personally repeat to myself as a self-care mantra when things get tough mentally. This EP sounded like a continuation of the GFOTY Bucks sound without being too much of a retread or an exact replica. Things were looking up for Miss OTY. In late 2019, she followed up If You Think I'm a Bitch with the single Flippy Wonderland, which was another solid offering. Since Boy Next Door was followed up fairly quickly with an accompanying EP, and she had been teasing an album on Twitter a couple of months before, many fans hoped that Flippy was the beginning of a new era for GFOTY. Well, it was. Just not the one people were expecting. So now that that very brief overview is done, we can finally talk about the topic of today's video, which is GFOTV. Great. Only 2 weeks after the release of Flippy Wonderland, GFOTY graced the world with GFOTV, an 11-song collection of what was supposedly music. Upon release, fans excitedly opened Spotify/Apple Music and began listening, only to find out that almost every song was a minute or less, and the entire album was 11 minutes long. Oh, and the music was terrible. And when I say the music was terrible, I want you to understand that I'm not just talking, oh, this is kinda disappointing terrible. This shit was so bad that it caused genuine anger and widespread chaos within the GFOTY fandom. Like, nobody even knew what to make of this shit. It was obviously a troll, but honestly, it was so bad that it transcended trolling. And I guarantee that there's at least a few of you right now that are like, you're just being dramatic. It can't be that bad. Let me play you the entire first song of this album, titled American Family.
So I need 30 seconds of it.
Okay.
Because then we kind of need the Anyway.
Yeah, right. And just to let you know, I didn't just like cut the song off right there to spare your ears. That's literally just how it ends. There's a lot to unpack here. Obviously, it's not unheard of for musicians to include some audio of them fucking around and talking in the studio, Sabrina Carpenter on Espresso for one. But this is so clearly the first and likely the last take that GFOTY and co-producer Johnny White really recorded for this song, and they decided to open the album with it. Really sets a precedent for the rest of the album here. The drums that open the song sound completely untreated and straight out of a built-in sample pack. They also sound a lot like the drums on Crash. No further comment. Outside of these drums, the production is like negatively mixed. I'd call it unmixed, but that would be too nice. No two parts of it go together like at all. The 80s kick drum completely clashes with the MIDI strings, which completely clashes with the choir plugin. But like, did I need to tell you that? It's pretty obvious already. And the vocals, my god, the vocals. GFOTY's music has never been about her singing ability, but most of the time she's pitched up or manipulated in some way to complement the rest of the production. On American Family, there's like a little bit of distortion that makes the vocals slightly interesting, but the pitch has completely left the building and there is no amount of vocal processing to hide that this time around. But what is she singing about? Let's talk about that. If you can understand even half the lyrics in this song, you might have been able to pick up on the fact that American Family is about The Simpsons. Because why shouldn't it be? The Simpsons, I am so sorry. But why though? Why would GFOTY make a song about The Simpsons? It's not unheard of for her to use an out-of-the-box concept or two for songwriting inspiration, but like, can you call this songwriting? It's literally just her like listing off facts about the show, which is exactly what the rest of this album is. Spoiler alert. Almost every song here is just a vignette where GFOTY describes a popular TV show in the most literal way possible. That's all. But if you're British, first of all, why? And second of all, you might have been able to guess this based on the album's cover art. The album cover for GFOTV is actually a recreation of an old BBC test card. And for those of you who were born in the 21st century, test cards are what television transmitters used to broadcast in the middle of the night when nothing was airing. That's right. The Netflix used to shut down at night. I think this album cover is fucking genius. Considering the rest of what we're going to be talking about today, I think it's safe to say this album is a whole lot of nothing, similar to what you would see if you turned on a TV in the middle of the night. GFOTY gave us a little hint about the album's contents before we even got a chance to hear it. How kind of her. A real album would have been better though. Anyways, back to this fake album. The next song is called Is a Teenage Witch. Guess what it's about? The vocal distortion from American Family is gone, which makes the song just the tiniest bit less bearable. The MIDI strings do carry over onto this song, which is a nice touch. But also, the transitions between tracks on this album are completely fucked up, and none of them actually transition properly. It's now a good time to mention that I paid for this album to make this video. I spent almost $10 of my own money for this shit because it got taken down from streaming a couple of months after its release. Why that is, we may never know. Maybe Spotify heard it and knew it was just too ahead of its time, like they needed to do something fast. But also, that means I had to pay 10 hard-earned dollars for this shit, so there's yet another way Spotify is robbing people of their money. School Friend Drama is next. It's about Saved by the Bell, and it sounds exactly the same as the last one. The lyrics are yet again observational and surface level, but we do get a GFOTY in this one, so that makes it a 1 out of 10 instead of a 0. I guess I'll just take this time to give my opinion on the show. Haven't seen it. GFOTY, what do you think about Saved by the Bell?
It's a very good show.
Glowing review, thanks for that. Funny Guys is about Keenan and Kel, and something that's actually interesting here is that GFOTY interpolates the beginning of the show's theme song to start this track off. I've also never seen this one, so I interrupted my research to go listen to the Keenan and Kel theme song, and it's low-key a banger. Granted, I was also, 3 listens deep into GFOTV at that point, so literally anything would have sounded better. Like, you could have put on 143 and I would have told you it deserved a Grammy. Obviously, the GFOTV version of this isn't good. It isn't good. More lyrics that make it sound like GFOTY was watching the show on mute while she was recording vocals. She ends the song by remarking on what was likely her first and only vocal take, saying, okay, that's fine. Was it though? The next song is Private Time, and surprisingly I have a bit more to say about this one than the last few. Which is ironic considering it's entirely instrumental and lasts a little over a minute. She couldn't even bother to do vocals on this one. But I kinda wish she had, because I have no idea what TV show this song is supposed to be about. I googled Private Time TV show and nothing matched, and then AI Overview tried to ask me a question and I just got mad and gave up. Fuck AI Overview. But seriously, do any of you know what this is a reference to? It's gonna bug me that I can't figure it out. British Oomps, please write in if you have any ideas. Though I do have a theory that it isn't actually about a TV show because of another song found later on this album, but we'll get to that. Weirdly enough, I kinda like this song. Maybe it is because there's no obnoxious vocals describing a TV show to ruin it. But the instrumental here is a neat little squelchy synth number that's catchy and a little vaporwavy, especially in the second half. It's the first of two strangely calming respites from whatever the rest of this album is. Because then we have Under the Sea, which is about SpongeBob SquarePants. SpongeBob, I am so sorry. The most memorable part about this song, and the only memorable part about this song really, is that the instrumental kinda sorta sounds like the show it's describing. The reverb makes the song feel like it's submerged underwater, and the marimba plugin probably could have played on the show itself. But unsurprisingly, the lyrics are what ruins it in the end. There is a Longlegs reference here for all you horror buffs though. Youthful and Rich is about the OC. It's a good show for the teens. Arthur is obviously about the children's show Arthur. I've never been happier to be Team Caillou. At this point, GFOTY's knowledge of the shows she's describing starts to wear thin because she can't quite remember what kind of animal Muffy is. Sis, the carbs. And I know that joke was low effort, but look at the album we're talking about today. Muffy's a monkey, by the way. All she had to do was Google. Go Home Roger is about Sister Sister, another show I've never seen. But I also had no idea what twins were, so I'm glad that GFOTY was able to explain that to me. Sisters born on the same day. What a concept. Because I've never watched the show, Tamar, I'm guessing Roger was some sort of nuisance in the sister family that nobody wanted around. But I also looked it up and there's an episode where he dates both of them at once, so who's to say? Also, the song has another fourth wall break at the end of it where GFOTY laughs at herself, so if nothing else, I'm glad she was having fun in the 20 minutes it took to create this album. Where's the Bentley at? I've been waiting for like 20 minutes. May as well make my debut album. Edible Brothers is about this Australian kids show called Bananas and Pyjamas, which I had definitely never heard of, but according to GFOTY it has a really fun concept, so maybe I'll check it out. From what I could tell through the lyrics, the show is about bananas who wear pyjamas. Riveting concept. But also, I'm not gonna hate too much because I looked it up and it seems really fucking cute. Tag yourself, I'm the left banana. GFOTY also ponders whether there's an American version of the show, and again, Google is free. But from what I could tell, there is not. A crime, honestly, but also the concept of bananas and pyjamas is a very Australian thing. The American version would probably be like hamburgers and buns, even though hamburgers are technically German, and we would pronounce pajamas right. The final song on GFOTV is a strange one. What? No way. But it's not strange in the same way as the rest of whatever this album is. It's strange in the way that it's actually longer than a minute. 4 times that long, in fact. TikTok runtimes be damned. If you're listening to this album for the first time, you're probably pissed off beyond belief, for one thing. But you've also most likely seen the light at the end of the tunnel, and you might even be a little hopeful that this song is actually going to be something of substance. It's 4 minutes long, after all. Maybe GFOTY decided to make a real song for the closer here. And then you listen to it, and it's literally just an instrumental like Private Time was. And you're probably even more pissed off than you were before. But also, considering I enjoyed Private Time quite a bit, I also think Goodnight is a pleasant listen. It's nothing spectacular, but going into any song on this album with high expectations is a futile effort. Goodnight is primarily made up of MIDI piano and pillowy synths, and it accomplishes a very dreamy and trancy effect, like it's supposed to be lulling the listener to sleep. I actually think the piano is programmed quite beautifully here, and the synths do a nice job of backing it up. Nothing is mixed, unsurprisingly, but the same can be said for JR, and I like this song more. So, obviously Goodnight still plays into the trolley feeling of GFOTV because it's the longest song on the album by far and it's just an instrumental. But at the end of the day, it's nice to listen to and it's probably my favorite song here. I would listen to it outside of the context of this album. High praise considering the album it's on. So clearly GFOTV is a troll album with troll qualities and intentions. That much is clear. In a myriad of ways. When you look at the reviews for this thing on Bandcamp and Rate Your Music, most people are either tearing it to pieces or joining in on the joke and calling it the best album of all time. And GFOTY herself is obviously in on the joke as well, because if she wasn't, I would be seriously worried for her mental health. Her tweets about the album were evidence enough, but unfortunately the jokes seem to fall flat at the time of this album's release. And I think the reasoning for that does have some validity behind it. If you're somebody who's thinking, oh my god, why did everybody take this album so seriously when it's clearly not meant to be, consider this. GFOTY deliberately marketed GFOTV as her debut album and talked about it, you know, like it was an actual album, not just random autotune musings on whatever TV shows were on her mind in the 20 minutes it took to record it. A lot of people were rooting for GFOTY after her departure from PC Music, and considering her prior independent output was relatively well received, they were hoping for more of the same kookiness. And this was definitely a different kind of kooky. Worthy of psychiatric institution, one might say. But what I'm getting at is that people just wanted a good GFOTY project that rivaled GFOTY books and proved that she could make a quality body of work outside of the PC Music sphere. And that did not happen here in the slightest. She chose the troll life instead. But can you really be that surprised though? Like, it's literally GFOTY. And when it comes to her career post GFOTV, I really do think this album's reception set a curse on everything she's released afterwards. I don't want to talk about Ham Chunks and Wine, and Femdorm was not very well received despite having some decent material. Justice for Brand New Bra. And when it comes to Influencer, the album she just put out, I do not think it's getting nearly as much attention as it deserves. Get Ready With Me, Spin Song, and Sitcom are the best songs she's put out in years in my opinion. The entire second half of that album is hit after hit. Please go listen to it if you haven't already. But suffice it to say that GFOTV was the beginning of GFOTY's relative flop era. It's around this time that you could have started calling her CHOTY, or Chopo of the Year. I stole that joke from a child. But there's one question about this album that's still left to be answered. If its initial reception was so terrible, and it got yanked from streaming, and she's put out 2 other real albums after it, why the fuck is she still promoting it? Right now, you are able to buy this album on vinyl from her web store, and she's advertising it in one of her pinned Instagram posts. Like, she refuses to let the GFOTV era die, and honestly, it's kind of iconic. Or these records were printed 6 years ago and never got sold, so she's trying to get rid of them however she can. You can also buy this album on Bandcamp, which is what I was forced to do. Sadly. But also, 50% of the proceeds go towards a charity called Mind, which seems to be a legitimate mental health outreach program, which is pretty cool. I hope the $5 they received from this album's sales went to good work. Though I will say upon further research, I found out that there were allegations of bullying within the charity itself, which is pretty fucking wild if you ask me. How are you gonna run a mental health charity and bully people? Like, hey loser, help anybody think positively about themselves today? Freak. Anyways, that's about all I can tell you about GFOTV, one of the strangest cases of a debut album I can remember from recent history. It was clearly meant to be a troll project, but people ended up taking it way too seriously and decided GFOTY should never reach the same success as her PC Music days because of it. But personally, I reject that narrative, mainly because I've made GFOTY a pretty huge part of my online existence, so I'll always be rooting for her. I think if people gave this album another chance, they'd realize that, well, it really is as bad as they remember. But also, it's not that serious. Can a girlfriend of the year just troll in peace? If there's anything I want to leave you with today, it's that for one, being mean on the internet isn't funny unless you have valid reasoning and you aren't just calling people ugly. It makes you look like a 5-year-old. And for another, listen to Influencer by GFOTY because you might be surprised by how much you like it. I definitely was. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
Okay, that's fine.